Hi everyone, thank you for joining me. I wanted to try a new way of communicating with you, so I haven't prepared any speech. I have prepared bullet notes of topics that I want to cover with you, but I just want to basically have a conversation with you, my fellow flight attendants. I want to give you a little bit of an update on the negotiations and where we are today. At this point, we've passed proposals back and forth with the company, and we're at that point where almost everything has been passed across the table. The good news about that is we can now narrow our differences and focus on solving the last remaining issues that we have so that we can present you with a TA that you will make the ultimate decision on in voting for. I also want to address the 787 MEC 116 grievance that we recently filed. There's been many issues raised about it, but I want you to know firsthand what is the reason why the United MEC decided to file MEC Grievance 116. Back in 2011, there was an expedited mediation protocol signed, and attached to that is what we know as the Metal Agreement. The Metal Agreement stipulates how aircraft are assigned to each subsidiary and how United has the obligation to provide information regarding the assignment of aircraft. At the time of the merger, it was known that each subsidiary, Continental and United, had 25 787s on order each, with options for others. In August of this past year, we started to inquire as to the allocation of the 787 aircraft and how is that decided of which aircraft goes to which subsidiary. I want to be very clear. When we started asking our questions, the questions were asked for one sole reason, and that is to uphold the agreement we signed with United Airlines. It is the union's job, and it is my job as MEC president, to see that those agreements are fulfilled. A series of questions and emails went back and forth. We had tried to arrange a meeting. There was an initial postponement, and we met with the company on December 4th. Since December 4th, our attorney has written follow-up questions that we presented at the meeting on December 4th and subsequent to the information that United supplied to us at the meeting. The information supplied to us was all verbal. We have asked for the documentation to support the statements that were given to us in our inquiry on the 787 fleet at United Airlines. To this day, those inquiries have not been answered for the information that we have requested. 7 months later, I have decided that we needed to pursue this as the protocol agreement calls for by going to the System Board of Adjustment for resolution within 60 days. This is not about anyone's flying. This is not about who gets what aircraft. This is about the core principles of what a union should do, and that's upholding an agreement. And as of this date, we have not been supplied the information to the questions we've answered on the 787 fleet. I can't go into much more detail as we will be presenting our case to the System Board of Adjustment in a couple of weeks. I also want to address some rumors that have been circulating in our flight attendant community. One of the rumors has to do with pensions in our negotiations. It has been brought to my attention that someone on our joint J&C had been working for 18 months with an outside firm working to formulate a pension for sub-United flight attendants who had lost our pensions in bankruptcy. I have inquired of other members of the joint J&C, and no one knew of this work being done by any member of the joint J&C. However, with due diligence, when the proposal was submitted to the joint J&C, We listened intently to the presentation, we asked follow-up questions, and we did our due diligence by hiring actuaries to look at the cash balance pension plan that was presented to us. And I use the words cash balance because this is completely different from what pre-merger United Flight Attendants lost during bankruptcy. The actuaries told us that the benefit that United Flight Attendants on the pre-merger United side would accrue, you would have to have 25 to 30 years in the plan to accrue a decent benefit. For close to 3/4 of our membership that could not put in for the 25 to 30 years needed, it was decided that this was not in the benefit of pre-merger United Flight Attendants. But I also want to stress that the Continental and the CMI, JNC, also asked pertinent questions regarding this pension plan. And the following day, after going through every aspect of the plan, and had it been a good plan, we would have signed on. It was unanimously rejected by the joint JNC. So for those to say that the United MEC or the United JNC prevented anyone from getting a pension in these contract negotiations is totally false. We have stipulated that we need to set apart a group for all our new hires and those that can put in the 25 to 30 years to get an achievable pension, a working group together to work and find out the answer to that equation. So I think that is one rumor that needs to be put to rest as far as how the JNC handled the pension issue. There's also another rumor that the United JNC, and more importantly, the United MEC and the international office prevented our sisters and brothers at Continental from a pay raise. There is nothing that is farther from the truth than that statement. I was at a meeting with the former MEC president at Continental and upper levels of management where it was clearly told to us that management had no intention of entering separate Section 6 negotiations with any subsidiary. We were also told that by the NMB when we all met at their offices prior to this first mediation session. So for anyone to suggest that a union or any part of a union would try to prevent our sisters and brothers from obtaining a raise, that is only meant to divide us, and it is totally a false statement. I also want to discuss a rumor regarding our profit sharing. There have been some that said, since Continental Flight Attendants are now included in profit sharing, which I am happy for because they deserve to be included, that somehow that takes away from some other group. Let me make it perfectly clear. Whether the Continental Flight Attendants participated in profit sharing or not, it did not change the calculation or the amount that pre-merger flight attendants at United Airlines received for profit sharing. I welcomed the announcement that Continental Flight Attendants, who should have always been assured of their profit sharing, are getting profit sharing this year. There is another rumor regarding profit sharing with our new hires. So I think we have to understand how profit sharing came to be. In 2005, when United was going through some of our worst times and we came out of bankruptcy, we were stripped of our pensions on the pre-merger United side. We lost wages. We lost quite a bit going through that turbulent period in our history. profit sharing was brought into being as a replacement for what we lost. There was agreement between all the parties that there needed to be a 1-year vestment before you qualified for the profit sharing. So for those that are trying to tell our new hires that they are not getting profit sharing because AFA did not want them to have it, that is absolutely false, and it goes against everything we stand for. The last issue I want to talk about and I want to address is we know that there is those of you that are feeling left out, disillusioned. You want this merger to go on. You want this joint contract to get to the place where we can vote on it. I assure you that you have our full commitment that we want that also. I am disappointed that we have not reached that point. I can tell you the issues are very narrow now of where we disagree. And I believe this corporation needs to get serious and negotiate with the flight attendants who are representing Continental Micronesia, and United Airlines, and negotiate a contract that these employees can be proud of, and we, as a flight attendant community, can vote on and ratify. There was one thing that I want to mention when Oscar Muniz was named CEO prior to his illness. In the few short weeks before Oscar was hospitalized, Oscar managed to give us something. He gave us hope. Hope that we haven't received in 5 years from the current management. He instilled a hope in us that we hadn't seen, and we started to dream of a United Airlines that we could all be proud of. I wish nothing better than his full recovery. I want Oscar to come back to the helm of this corporation and lead us with the change needed to fulfill his dream of leading United Airlines to be the premier airline in this country. There is nothing more than all of us flight attendants want than to be able to come to United Airlines and with pride say, we are being respected, we know how to give the best service in the industry, we know how to bring back repeat customers, but we will not be undervalued. We want to be respected. And to be respected, we need to have a joint contract. Which brings me to the last part of my talk with you today. There are some that are disgruntled, and there is a law firm that is preying on that employee group. Lee Seaham, who is attached to the McCormick Group, who is known for union busting for decades, is the attorney referenced in a letter from United Airlines on January 8th, representing the group that are collecting cards to decertify your union and call for election for a new union. It could not be at a time most dangerous to our flight attendant careers. Why would we start a new union with no backing from any international unions, the support of 700,000 CWA members, the millions belonging to AFA-CWA that would support us in these negotiations with United Airlines? Where is the money coming from that will be needed to conclude these negotiations starting from scratch? Where will the committee be to continue on joint negotiations, having to start all over? Is that what we want? Is that what we want to put our employee group through? An election that could turn divisive when we work so hard to repair the damage done from a prior election. We are one, and we're working towards one. I think of my sisters and brothers at Continental and CMI. with the same pride that I think of flight attendants that I represent here at United Airlines. We're going to be sitting on the jump seat together. It is time for an open conversation. And if it's change that you want within your union, there is a process for that. Run for office. Show up at your local meetings. Demand the change that you want. It can be done within our structure. I urge you, please do the research. Please do not let this firm who has, let me just tell you a little bit about this firm, okay? They were representing AMFA. For those of you who don't know who AMFA is, they were representing 10,000 Northwest mechanics. They led them on what is known in the industry as the suicide strike. And 10,000 workers lost their job because of the law firm of Lee Seaham that is advising this group trying to get you to sign cards. And let me tell you some other connection with this law firm. They go after unions that are already organized. Why is that? Because there's a due structure in place. It is about money and nothing but money. This group is also the group that at U.S. Airways, as the pilots changed from ALPA, formed USAPA, an independent group of pilots. What did they accomplish for these pilots? They accomplished the most failed seniority integration in the history of the airline industry. And that is the real reason why U.S. Airways and America West flight attendants took so long to get an agreement. Because the company was not willing to negotiate with them to get an agreement as long as there was the distraction of the seniority integration pilot issue that was going on at their airline. And it wasn't until that was settled and the U.S. Airways contract became amendable, and then the U.S. Airways flight attendants took a strike vote, that the company came to the table and negotiated a flight attendant contract to bring those groups together. Do your research. You don't have to rely just on me. There's Google. Google this law firm. Find out the truth behind this organization that is preying on flight attendants that are unhappy. And these groups, to the groups of unhappy flight attendants that are trying to get others to sign these cards, I ask of you, please don't be led down this path by a group that is just trying to make money off of you. We are one community of flight attendants. And in our organization, there is nothing wrong with dissension. There is nothing wrong with differences of opinions. Let's talk it out. Let's debate it. Debate leads to good decisions. Let's make the changes from within, and let's not go down the path of destruction. In closing, I want to read to you one part of a speech that I gave to you 18 months ago when I took this office as United MEC President. I had said to you in that speech, please do not direct your good energy and attention towards forces that serve to divide us, and do not have our collective best interests at heart. Those that try to divide us shall fail. Know that, live that, and believe this. We, the 24,000 AFA-CWA United Flight Attendants, will prevail, and we can prevail. We have each other's backs. Thank you, and good night.